Well, if you happen to be an elderly person who has spent time in a hospital or a nursing home, there is an infection constantly often associated with hospital stays and sometimes nursing home stays. And this morning, Dr. Douglas Denham is here to explain more about it. He's the medical director for the Clinical Trials of Texas. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
so
it.
this is called C. difficile.
Right.
Yes, tell us what this is.
This is a bacteria that normally lives in our gut, our colon and intestines, and it kind of lives with all the other bacteria that are normally in there that do the digestive processing and things like that. Unfortunately, in our elderly population or someone who's been in the hospital, gotten a lot of IV antibiotics, or gotten a lot of antibiotics while they're in the nursing home, that can cause that bacteria to kind of take over the gut, and it produces a toxin that can cause severe diarrhea, it can cause bleeding, it can cause rupture and even death in people.
So symptoms are pretty apparent, would you say?
Yes, yeah,
quite apparent.
generally you'll get a call, I'll get a call from a nursing home saying that one of my patients is having pretty severe diarrhea or something like that. And what we'll do is we'll order a sample to be sent to test for these toxins to see if they're available or present, and then if they are present, we will treat with antibiotics.
Okay, and so you talk about, I want to learn a little bit more about the type of antibiotic therapies that you treat, that you use these for.
Well, I mean, are you talking about the vaccine that we're using?
Yes, the treatment
okay.
options for C. difficile.
Well, the treatment options right now for C. difficile are antibiotics. Flagyl is one of them, vancomycin may be another one, a little bit more aggressive. The purpose of the vaccine trial is to see if we can get the body to respond and make antibodies to the toxin, so that if they do get this infection, their immune system will then produce the antibodies to take the toxin and make it ineffective so it doesn't cause the infection.
Right. So this brings us to details of a study and why it's beneficial. This is something that's going on.
Yes, this is a current study that we're running right now. We're looking for healthy volunteers, 65 to 85. Currently stable with any health conditions that they have, hypertension and those kinds of things. And it's a 3-vaccine trial. You'll get a vaccine on the first day, you come back on the 8th day, and then you get a 3rd vaccine on the 30th day.
And tell us, we have something here that we want to...
Yeah, this just shows over time how we're seeing more incidences of infection with this.
Why do you think that is, doctor, first of all, when you say, when you can chart it and say we've seen a rise, what does that do to?
Well, I think it's a number of things. We see resistance to bacteria from being exposed to antibiotics. I think as physicians, we're probably a little guilty of increasingly using more antibiotics.
And we can see, I mean, markedly here from 93 to 2000.
Yes,
that's pretty significant, right?
And then even in hospitals, we're seeing rising incidence of superbugs, bugs that are resistant to kind of the common antibiotics we have. And that's obviously the fear when we use antibiotics too often, is that we're going to develop strains that will be resistant to every antibiotic that we have. And then we already have some of those things going on right now. We see some of the staffs and things like that. So it's a concern, and that's why this is going to be a great preventative, if you want to think of it that way, by vaccinating patients before they get sick and then being able to prevent them from getting these infections.
Absolutely. And then of course you are able to better treat and know what you're dealing with,
right?
If things don't progress as far as...
But and I think the vaccines are important. I know there's been a lot of coverage in the paper recently, with the measles outbreak. And people not wanting to vaccinate their children. It's a concern. I think the autism concern that everyone brings up has been debunked thoroughly by now, and I think it's important that people get vaccinated. Okay,
wonderful, good information. That is the C. difficile study happening with the Clinical Trials of Texas, and if you'd like to take part in that clinical trial, if you heard some of those symptoms and you think that might apply to me, give them a call, 949-0122. They're located at 7940 Floyd Curl Drive, Suite 700, right here in San Antonio, Texas. We thank you so much for sharing good information with us. We didn't know a lot about this before you came this morning, so it's good to know that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, one of the things we do know a lot about around here, and that is great prizes for great viewers like